Welcome to Get Over It, the consciousness transforming podcast for exceptional 21st century living. Hey, folks, our health person is back. We have Cheryl Meyer, and we're going to be talking about her new book, and that's Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin in Community and Everyday Life. But we're also going to talk about COVID-19. We're going to weave the two together. So this is going to be our COVID-19 show, at least for this month. More may come. And I'm going to forgo all of my stuff that I said early because it's so important that we understand from alternative functional health perspective what we can do for COVID-19. Now, my guest, Cheryl Meyer, she's with us. The book that we're going to talk about is Feeling Good. She's written a total of 3 books. It Feels Good to Feel Good, which we've talked a lot about. And then she has an ebook called Stress. She also has a podcast entitled Feels Good to Feel Good and Future Proof Your Life, and I believe that's a TV show. We'll ask her more about that. Cheryl is a grad of Berkeley and the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. She's got a lot of information. You guys have checked out her other podcasts, so we're just going to move forward with this one. Welcome back, Cheryl.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, it is so good to have you. And, folks, I need to let you know that this is an explicit podcast, so there might be a dirty word or 12. So if you don't want the little ones to hear, please, have them not listen because it's really important that, in my opinion anyway, that we get this information out in plain English that people can understand. So think about it. If you're having passionate sex, you don't say, oh, intercourse me. You say, oh, F me. Okay? So that's where we're going with this one. So don't let the kiddies listen if your kiddies can't hear. So, Cheryl, wow, it's been a while. It has been a while. You've been very busy, so bring us up to speed. What have you been doing?
Well, I have 2 new babies that have been launched. One is my podcast, which is on local community access TV here in California, which is just my immediate area, which is actually 150,000 people. But then we turned it into a podcast on Voice America. So it's in 68 different countries. And
wow.
One week I talk about something about health. Mm-hmm. And then the next week, I interview someone who, like me, had a health crisis and owned it, made all the health changes that they needed to make so that they could return to wellness. Because when I speak locally, people come up to me and say, it's all fine and well that you no longer have pain from autoimmune disease, but I can't do that. And yes, you can. I have talked to somebody who had pancreatic cancer who is now cancer-free. I've talked to other people with autoimmune disease. I just talked to someone with Crohn's disease and what she did to lose all of the downsides of her ailment. I want you to hear lots of people's stories to know if you own it and you do your own research, there is absolutely no reason you have to live a life of pain and pills.
Well, it's interesting. You said some magic words there. You said your own research. And for me, that works with, making sure that your health is on point. It also makes sure that you have information that's valid for you for COVID-19. And it also makes things quite interesting for dealing with the lies that are coming out of the orange man that resides in the White House mouth.
Right.
So it's very telling. So let's jump in. I want you to share a little bit of history that you shared with me before, and that was during the 1819 flu pandemic. Your grandfather passed away?
Yeah, the 1918. Yes,
I'm not.
I'm
looking at 1918 and I'm reading 1819. That's my dyslexia kicking in.
Yeah, my father was just a tot, and his father, who was a man in middle age, which is what that flu epidemic hit. It hit more people middle age than young or old, which was unusual. But his father actually died in the 1918 flu epidemic. I didn't understand that as a child, how we could have lost someone to the flu. Well, that was no flu. That flu epidemic killed 50 million people around the world. 25 million in the United States got it. And it actually originated, they think, in Kansas or Nebraska at a chicken farm. And what was most interesting, they call it the Spanish flu, but it didn't have anything to do with Spain. It was just the first place that it also hit really hard once it started going around the world. One of the most interesting things I discovered was that our soldiers had gotten it and took it to war in World War I. The English also got it in World War I, and they got it in the beginning much worse than the Germans. But then as the war went on, they passed it to the Germans, and the Germans got it way worse than the Americans and the English, and more of them got impacted and died, which is one of the reasons we won World War I. It was very real, and it is very real now, and people need to pay attention to it. So, some people are taking it seriously, and some people aren't. I don't know about you, but I know several people who have had it, including you, and it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. No, it's not pretty. It's not easy. And no, folks, it's not the flu. And this is coming from a person who's had the flu. She's had pneumonia 4 times. She's had 3 pulmonary embolisms. So I'm kind of familiar with lung issues. And this is like having maybe 6 cases of pneumonia, 43 cases of flu, and then something else just whack you and knock you out on top of that. It's like breathing through, if those of you who go to clubs or to the bar and you drink through that little straw, imagine breathing through that for 4 months straight. Okay? And then you can start to have an inkling.
Like having an elephant. She felt like she had an elephant sitting on her chest.
Yep. Now, I'm actually going through that right now, and folks, I got it March 17th, at least diagnosed March 17th, and here it is August 10th, and I'm still going through it. I didn't go to the hospital.
Yeah, it lingers.
No, I didn't go to the hospital. So, some people are saying, well, that's why it's lingering, but I just knew intuitively if I went into the hospital, I would be doing this podcast from spirit world right now, not in 3D. Now, in the 1918 flu, you had done some research, and you said that folks in Pittsburg, Pennsylvania, got hit really hard, and St. Louis minimal. Why was that?
Well, the worst was actually Philadelphia, but then it also spread over to Pittsburgh. Philadelphia had a parade right in the middle of the epidemic, and they all got it, and many of them died, whereas St. Louis took it seriously. They wore their masks, they did it seriously, and they came through the other end with very few problems. So I have a lot of photos of people in 1918 wearing their mask. One is a whole group wearing a mask with a sign, don't wear a mask, go to jail. Sometimes they have their pets in the pictures, where the dog and the cat also have masks on, because I don't think they knew then that the dogs and the cats weren't spreading it. But the cities that took it seriously came through the other end much better than the cities that didn't. And Philadelphia was just massacred from the virus. And it was nothing like anything 50 million people worldwide died from this thing. This was not anything that was to be sneezed at. This was not just a flu. This was something seriously that had not happened before. And the one that we're going through right now is a similar strain that's having, although it's not hitting middle-aged people the worst, they're trying to say that children don't get it, and I read this morning that children are increasing in how many of them are getting COVID. So, it's hitting us all.
Yeah, well, the 97,000 kids contracted it with just in a short time where schools opened back up to, start school again. And, 97,000 kids, that's a great big petri dish as far as I'm concerned. But, I look at that and I understand the need for children to have education. I understand the need for socialization and all of that. If my kids were still little, they wouldn't be going. We would be homeschooling because there's many programs out there that can be free or even purchased for a minimal fee that will educate your child better than most public schools. And I live in an area where the public schools are fabulous, but I would have no compunction whatsoever with keeping my kid out of school and, teaching them at home. And for you parents who say you can't teach, well, maybe you should have rethought having kids because, it's all about teaching kids. That's how you raise them.
And one of the Midwest governors said, the kids aren't going to get it, but if they go home, then maybe their folks would get it. Who's going to teach the kids if the teachers get it? Who's going to take care of the kids if the parents get it? This is serious. We need to take it seriously.
Yeah, but we can't take it seriously because we have the buffoon in the White House that is saying, it's going to magically disappear. There's only going to be 15 cases. It's 150,000 dead. Oh, well, don't worry. It'll disappear soon. Oh, no, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
That's going to happen.
And people believe, and what galls me is people believe this bullshit. He obviously doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He doesn't listen to his scientific community that's around him.
And worse than that, to all his supporters, he doesn't care. I would think about that for a minute. He's not out there worried about you. He's getting tested every day. He's worried about him. He's not worried about you.
Yeah, all those tests that we don't have, trust me, they're stockpiled for the executive branch of the White House because they want to make sure that they're all safe. And, there was even a thing out, and they say don't talk about his kid, but I'm going to. That's the youngest one, Barron. They're saying that, he was going to go back to school and all of that. And that's wonderful. I'm glad Barron's going back to school, but Barron has an opportunity and an advantage. Okay, but he has an advantage that most of the rest of the kids in the United States don't have. He's a member of the White House family. He's getting tested daily. When you send Susie to whatever school that Susie goes to, she's not being tested daily. And case in point is that brave, I call her brave young girl down in Texas, I believe it was, who videotaped her school in between class, the changing of the guard, so to speak,
right,
going into different classes, and she got expelled for it. She was finally reinstated, but she got expelled for doing what is right. I don't understand these people, and I don't understand the sheeple that follow them, because you can tell me the sky is blue, and if I look outside and it looks a little pink to me, I'm going to push back on you. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, it's blue. Why aren't people doing more of that, Cheryl? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't understand how they've been so gaslighted. I'm all about health. I'd rather make it all about health than about politics. But for goodness sakes, I have information that says 90% of us are at risk. 90%.
Wow.
So if you're out there and you're not wearing a mask, you are putting everyone you're coming in contact with at risk. And you also are at risk because of all these people who are not wearing masks that are near you. It just doesn't make sense. And you don't want to get this I know several people who have gotten it. It is not fun. So you don't want this. So why are we being gaslighted? I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it.
I have an idea because I think the belief is that Americans are basically stupid. We're gullible. We'll believe anything that's said. And as a dictator or an autocrat, someone can come out and say whatever it is they want to say, and people will just, lap it up, because Americans, unfortunately, are too lazy to do the work. We don't want to invest time in ourselves to figure out how we can heal ourselves. We don't want to invest time in ourselves to enhance our spirituality. We want it handed to us on a golden platter, and we want it yesterday. And if we can't have it yesterday, we have temper tantrums. I actually had a woman call me from Florida, and I'm in California. She wanted me to come down and do an energy cleanse in her house. And I'm like, well, no, sweetie, virus, not going there. And she became very indignant with me about why I won't come down. Masks aren't important, and I listened to her, and then I just told her that we weren't an energetic match and got off the phone. And I won't tell you what I said after that, but it's just amazing that people don't buy in. Now, you alluded to a little while ago about, I think it was an article that you read by Dr. Hyman.
Right. I actually took several functional people and condensed them into a blog so that I could put out something about what do you do to boost your own immune system in the time of coronavirus. The most interesting thing from the article from Dr. Hyman, who is one of the leading functional doctors, is him talking about the fact that 9 out of 10 of us are in danger from coronavirus. There's 50 million people with autoimmune disease, and I'm one of those. Even though I don't have pain anymore, I will always have autoimmune disease. 114 million have diabetes. 121 million have heart disease. And then there's the 15.5 cancer survivors. We're all on the list of immune compromised, but it's worse than that. 75% of Americans are overweight, and 42% are obese. They are all immune compromised. Chronic disease is impacting 6 out of 10 Americans. And 20% of normal weight people have prediabetes. So all of these shocking rates are of poor metabolic health, which makes 9 out of 10 of American adults unhealthy. And that's a major reason COVID-19 is so much greater than it needs to be in the United States. But we're also not following the protocols of staying safe by wearing masks and socially distancing. And so not only are we all in the immune compromised zone, but we're not doing the things that would keep us safe anyway. And so it's pretty scary. Only 12% of Americans are metabolically healthy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you're including children in that.
Those statistics are frightening. Frightening.
Wow.
But there are some things that you can do.
Like?
To build up your immune system. And it starts with, again, are you too lazy to cook your own food using whole foods? Because that will get you nutrients that your body needs. And you need to eat all the colors of the rainbow because together they have a synergy that creates health in your body. And preferably they should be organic because then they don't come with an unhealthy dose of nasty toxins on them. So the first most important thing you can do is eat the rainbow, eat whole foods, cook, and then eat all the different colors. Maybe not every day, but every week you need to be getting in all the colors so that they're all there interacting with each other to keep your body healthy. And why is that important? Because your cells have a shelf life. And I never really thought about that before. Your cells regenerate. Your gut does it every 7 days, and there's a point at which it just can't keep up with what you're doing to your body. It doesn't have any building supplies to pull from. Your skin is every 2 to 3 weeks. So if you have skin problems, that's an inside job. It's coming from your gut. And so you need to be eating the rainbow so that your skin has good building supplies to pull from. Your hair is every 6 years and every 3 years. 6 years for women, 3 years for men. Your red blood cells are every 3 to 4 months. If you have diabetes and you've ever taken your A1C, they're taking a look at a 3-month range of cells in your blood because that includes new cells, medium cells, and cells that are about to die. And that's how they can get an accurate rating on how much sugar is in your blood because every 3 to 4 months those cells completely redo themselves.
Wow.
Your liver, which is one of your most critical organs in your body, is every 150 to 500 days. You don't have a healthy liver, that's taken all the toxins out of your blood, then you don't have a body that functions properly.
Mm-hmm.
So, you need to be eating nutrients so that all of these organs have things that they can pull from that are healthy building supplies.
Okay, so why can't we just take like a vitamin or supplement? Why doesn't that work as well? Or does it?
Because, no, it doesn't. And yes, we do need to supplement because starting in the late 1990s, the ground started becoming very depleted of all the minerals that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So that we now have a toxic lack of nutrients coming even from our vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is that all the herbicides and the pesticides and the things that are getting sprayed on our food are cleating the minerals right out of the soil, and what minerals get into our body are getting cleated right back out.
Mm-hmm.
And GMOs have something called Bt toxin added to them, which they thought was going to be immediately rejected by the body, and it ends up it's the gift that keeps on giving in your gut. It's replicating itself in your stomach.
Wow.
And Bt toxin is what they grow into plants so that when a bug bites it, it blows up his little stomach, which is great because then it doesn't eat the plant, but it's also blowing up all the good gut bacteria in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other kind of GMO is glyphosate, which we now know causes cancer because we finally got their research from 20 years when they got sued. And they lost 2 major lawsuits, and they now just agreed to an $80 billion settlement for people who have been harmed by Roundup, which is glyphosate. But it's still being sprayed on our crops. So if you think it's not worth it to buy organic, think again, because you really don't need those toxins in your body.
Cheryl, that's true, but what if you truly can't afford the organic? I'm in Northern California. I've watched milk, well, I don't do dairy, but I've watched dairy and milk go up 10%. Eggs are up 8%. Meat is up 14%. And, that's the I'm going to call the garbage food. So the organic is much, much more. So how can we truly afford to eat?
One of the things
healthy?
I recommend, if it's important to you, you'll find a way to make the money. And what you need to do is take a look at where are you spending your money. Are you buying coffee on your way to work every morning? Stop it already. Buy yourself a stainless steel carafe. Make your own coffee. You don't need to be spending all that money. Are you taking your lunch to work? I take my food everywhere because I don't want that stuff in my body. So I make these sensational salads in canning jars. And no matter where I go, when I walk in with one of my salads, which are all in layers and all in the rainbow, people everywhere want to know, where did I get it? How could they get one? You make it yourself. And when I buy vegetables, I clean them right away and put them on the shelf right at eye level in my refrigerator. So that's what I grab for snacks. That's what I grab for my salads. That's what I grab to chop up and to roast for my vegetables at night. If you do the work in the beginning, it's there. And then how often are you going out after work to drink? Invite everybody over to your house. Have everyone bring a great bottle of wine and celebrate that way. That'll save you a ton of money.
Or even cheaper to do it over
Zoom. Save your money. Right. But there are ways that if you want to save the money and make room for organic, it is very doable. Yeah. And then there's a couple of services that I use. I use a company called Imperfect Produce, which they buy all of the vegetables and the fruit that have hiccups. They're a little off shape, or they were in excess. And what they're doing is they're saving food waste, but they deliver it to my doorstep, and they might have a bell pepper with a big dent in his side. I don't care if it has a dent. I want the nutrients that are inside of him. And what do? I only eat meat that eats his species-specific diet, and there is no doubt that that's more expensive. But I've become pagan instead of paleo. I don't eat big amounts of meat anymore. I eat meat the size of the palm of my hand. So I eat much less than those huge steaks that used to be on your plate, because 75% of what I eat are vegetables. And so that makes room for more money for organic. You know, if you look at where you're spending your money, there are ways to save. One night a week we do vegan or vegetarian because that's right. You know, we're retired. We're on fixed incomes, but it's important enough to us that we find ways to do it. Now, if you have people who are not in one of the cities that does imperfect food, there is a second group called Misfits. And if they do your state, they do the entire state. And they also have irregular produce that you can order that gets delivered to you.
And, you know, folks, sometimes that irregular fruit is healthier because it, you know, it might be a quirk of nature for our vantage point because it doesn't look like what they tell us it should look like, but it can have more nutrients within it.
Right.
So, you know,
and then I buy a lot of my hard goods from a company called Thrive Markets. You pay $45 up front. You amortize that almost instantly because you save 20 to 25% on everything you buy from their store. And then they also deliver. So I don't have to be carting huge, heavy groceries up to my doorstep anymore. I open up the door, and there are my Thrive boxes of my food that's been delivered. So I buy my low toxin laundry detergent from them, and I buy my tomato sauce that's in bottles from them because I don't want it from cans because I don't want the tomato, which is acidic, pulling that crud out of the can. But all that kind of stuff, it comes from Thrive, and I buy it for less than I would buy it from any of the grocery stores close to me.
Okay, so there's a will and a way to do it. You just have to be on board to get it done. So let's switch gears for a second and talk about stress and breathing during the time of COVID-19, because trust me, if you got the virus, it's kind of hard to breathe. But let's say someone who's not stricken with that yet. How can breathing help us, and then how can we manage our stress? And you can do that in any order that you want to do it in.
Well, managing your stress also goes back to breathing, and there's a new book out that I strongly recommend called Breath. And he proposes that breathing is a lost art, that we need to learn how to breathe again, and that is impacting every organ in our body that we are not breathing correctly. Our jaws are not even correctly formed in our heads anymore. And so my husband did this immediately, and I do it on occasion. There's something called mastia, resin tree gum, that doesn't taste like very much of anything, but you chew it to rebuild the muscles in your jaw so that your jaw is in the correct position so that you get to breathe properly. I have always used the Dr. Andrew Weil 478 breathing exercise. I use it to release stress, and I know it works because I drive in LA traffic to my functional doctor. I used to be one of the worst with high blood pressure, and now I have a lower pulse and a better blood pressure than any other patient that visits her because I do this exercise the whole time I'm driving out there. And it's really easy to do, and you can look it up right on Zoom. You breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, and then you whoosh it out of your mouth with your tongue up against your teeth to the count of 8. And you do 4 rounds of that. It takes less than 3 minutes, and it resets the parasympathetic nervous system at the back of your neck, which reduces, it lets all the steam off your stress. I found it because when I got sick 8 years ago, my cortisol was down to zip. I was almost to Addison's disease. I had so little cortisol. So it was self-defense. I had to learn how to take care of my stress. And this is now one of many exercises, and that's why I did the little stress book. It's a desktop book of stress exercises because I choose one of those to do intermittently throughout the day because I call it letting the steam off the Instant Pot as you go through your day so that it never builds up to chronic. We all deal with stress all the time. It's when it builds up to become toxic stress or chronic stress that it's an issue. So learning how to breathe is really important, but there's all kinds of breaths. The perfect breath is, again, you can look this up on YouTube, and there's actually an app that you can watch that helps you do it. You count in for a count of 5, you hold it for a count of 5, and you let it out to a count of 5. That's called perfect breathing. And by doing that, you, again, let go all the stress in your body. There's a nostril breathing that I have a hard time getting my hands in the right position to do it, but you breathe out of one nostril and then you switch and you breathe out of the other. That is very good for releasing stress. So there's a series of these that you can choose from, and one of them is just humming, and humming through your nose. So that actually is really good for you because it resets all your breathing apparatus. But according to this guy's research, it's an ancient art that we've moved away from. That is one of the reasons that we have so much chronic illness, because we're not breathing correctly. And we have to breathe deep and let it out long in order to rebuild some of our breathing mechanism. That's obviously not a natural way to breathe, so you don't do that all the time. But if you stop a couple times a day and do some really deep breathing, that's also really good for you.
Well, you know,
and you need to be doing that to build up your lungs right now, because that's what COVID attacks.
And having gone through numerous lung issues, as I mentioned earlier, even allopathic doctors, the hospital will teach you that before they let you out to allow you to help yourself. Cheryl, I want to switch gears, yet once again. In your book, Feeling Good, you talk about time alone. Alone time. And during this time of the virus, you know, if you have many people in your house sometimes, or small children, sometimes it's difficult to find that alone time. So could you give us some insight on what, you know, parents can do, and also those of us who are empty nesters?
Well, I actually used to have a really hard time with alone time. When I got divorced the first time 8 billion years ago, I hated being alone. But if you are one of the people like me, once you go through what I call the open window to aloneness, you no longer, in fact, I can get over peopled. I need a certain amount of alone time. It can be as simple as taking an Epsom salt bath at the end of the day so that you are taking care of yourself. You're getting extra dose of magnesium from the Epsom salts. I use lavender bubble bath in my bathtub, which relaxes me. So between the magnesium and the lavender, I sleep like a baby every night. And that's one of the ways that I snatch a little bit of alone time for myself. But I also talk about getting alone time by going out into nature on your own. And it doesn't matter where it is. It might only be that you can walk around the block. You might have a park that you can go to walk at and still stay socially distanced. You might want to be able to get into a forest if you have one close. I live in Los Angeles, right at the base of 5,000-foot mountains. We've gone up there a couple of times and taken a hike away from other people so that we can get into the trees. What's interesting about that is trees let loose chemicals that are actually really good for themselves, but they're also really good for you. And they have cancer-healing chemicals in them. So if you can get into the woods and you can breathe in these chemicals, they're super good for you. And my new thing that I've been recommending to people who are my clients is that when you get outside and you take a walk by yourself, number one, leave your electronics behind. Let somebody know where you're going, but leave all of that at home. And then take a walk using all your senses. When you walk outside, how does the air feel on your face? If you start to walk, notice, are there any birds in the sky? What color is the sky? Are there new flowers that are growing in your neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
Can you smell anything that you didn't smell the last time you took the walk? Go up to a tree and give it a hug and feel the texture of the trunk. You should use all your senses when you walk, which will keep you in the now, which is also very relaxing. And it's super good for you because the walk is taking on a whole new dimension for you that is making the most of your alone time.
Okay, so you've given us a lot to do so that we can, find peace. I find that when I engage in alone time that I'm more relaxed. I come back to center. I'm grounded.
Right.
And I love my alone time out in my backyard in my garden. It's like, my family knows if she's gardening, let her be. And I just somehow, it feels like I morph into the plants or the ground or whatever.
Well, and you're grounding, and grounding is something that's also really good for you if you're outside working in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
Getting your hands into the dirt is good for you.
Yes. And you pick up the minerals that are in the dirt, too. So make sure you're playing around with some good quality dirt. So before I let you go, I want to talk about animals and toxins and the COVID-19. Is it your belief that animals can catch the virus and then transmit it to us?
No, it's actually, from everything I've read, they do not transfer it to us. Mm-hmm. I did chapters of my second book on raising healthy pets because while I was researching for myself, 8 years ago, I lost all 3 of my kitties, and I lost them way before I had ever lost pets before. My pets were known to live well into their 20s, and the joke amongst my friends were they all wanted to come back as my pet. And I lost these guys at 12, 14, and 16, and so I knew when I wrote the second book I was going to research what had changed for them that was toxic. And it ends up, number one, what's in your pet's food is totally disgusting, unbelievably disgusting. A lot of what goes into both wet food and kibble are disabled, dead, diseased, and dying animals. So if a cow drops dead in a field, he gets to sit in that field for a while, and eventually he gets thrown into the back of a truck, and he makes it to the rendering pot, and that becomes pet food. It's enough to make you ill when you read what goes into it. And pets are getting all the same diseases that we're getting. Partly it's because kibble is not species-specific food. Neither is all this crap that goes into the rendering pot. And so what does kibble? Kibble is carbohydrate. The animal would not be eating carbohydrate as part of its natural diet. And what does carbohydrate turn into? It turns into sugar. So cancer is bigly on the rise in our pets because they're eating stuff that is not good for them, that's turning to sugar, that's turning into cancer and other human diseases. So in my book, I explain what the issue is. I explain what the crud is that's actually in their food. And then I give you several sources to find out different levels of pet food, and you pick the best that you can afford. If you can only afford the lowest level of pet food, then at least once a week buy a better one so that he gets better nutrition. Because and you can make your own food, but if you're going to do that, you need to use a recipe so that the dog doesn't or the cat doesn't get unbalanced in what they're eating. And there's a holistic vet named Dr. Karen Becker who actually has a whole cookbook out so that you can make food for your pets that's balanced, that's healthy. But if you have an animal that's having all kinds of health issues, then you need to directly impact their food first. If you deal with their food, you can often turn around whatever ailments they're dealing with right from the beginning. Just like humans, they have a problem with leaky gut. Leaky gut, it leads to inflammation. Inflammation leads to disease. So start with the food, if at all possible. And there's even a sensitivity. I have 18 food sensitivities that I found by taking a sensitivity test. Well, there's now a sensitivity test for pets. And so I give you the link to get that. if you have a dog, especially a dog with all kinds of skin allergies,
Mm-hmm.
he's got a sensitivity to something, and it would be good to know what that is. But I also make recommendations for skin products for the dog. There's a company called Keys Pure that she got cancer, so she created a whole skincare line for people like her. She was sensitive to everything. But she then started creating products for her dog because she wanted him to have a better life as well. And they have all kinds of products that will improve skin problems on dogs and cats. And they have a low-toxin bug spray that's fantastic.
Definitely need that because insecticides that they're giving the animals now, for flea repellent and whatever else, it's killing them.
Yeah, well, check out my chapter about pesticides and herbicides.
Okay.
Sides, it's called sides, everything you know about sides, because I talk about what to do instead that isn't sides, that takes care of the bug and doesn't hurt your pets or you or your children, because it's side by nature means kills.
Okay.
So there are I actually got to spend several days on the phone with Richard the Bugman, who's in charge of holistic methods to get rid of bugs for the state of New Mexico. And he shared all his secrets with me, and that's all in the book.
Okay. And this is your second book, right? Feeling Good?
This is my second book, right.
Okay.
Because you don't want that stuff around you or anybody else.
No. And, folks, Feeling Good is such a wonderful book. It's a big, thick book, just like her other book, It Feels Good to Feel Good. It's very clear, concise, gives you new information, and it's solid. And more importantly, folks, you can read it, and then you can go online and do some research yourself to see if it makes sense for you. But just don't buy into something because somebody says it's true, okay? Don't buy into it.
I want you to do your own research.
Yes.
Own it yourself. I give you a head start, but I want you to do your own research and own it yourself. You can dramatically impact your health. But it means you have to do some research and then go have a robust conversation with your doctor. My information will not replace your doctor, but know enough that when you go to see him, you have information to back yourself up and hold intelligent conversations with him.
And you may discover you know more than your doctor knows, especially about your
situation.
situation.
Well, believe it or not, he doesn't learn a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with. A vet is given crunchies every month that he's in vet school and told that that's the only thing an animal should eat. Ends up, it's what's making them sick. So, but vet schools are all supported by the pet food industry. Human doctors get nothing on nutrition, or at best get a half a day. And I don't know if you know it, but this shocked me. Medical schools were started by pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
So what the doctor does is he listens for the first ailment that comes out of your mouth, and he matches the pill to it, and then you're on your way. You look at it and go, but I didn't even tell him about this and this and this, because he already matched you to a pill, and that's what you're supposed to do. So he is not the who said of the greatest magnitude. We need them. They are educated, and they can help us, but you need to own it yourself.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to push back on your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't like it when you push back, new doctor, I've fired several. My primary care I've kept because I will tell him things. And at first he was really resistant. And I said, here, just check it out. And I would give him some links to look at. And then when he found out I wasn't completely batshit crazy, he started to listen to me. But then I had a gastro doctor who wrote a book, and everything was, go back and read the book. It's like, I've read it 9 times. This isn't addressed in your book, so bye. And you have to not be afraid, because it's your life.
Yeah, no, it is your life. And you don't have to just accept that this is how it has to be. There are a lot of things that you have the power over. Look, I used to have horrific pain. Every joint and every muscle in my body hurt. Today I have no pain. I still have autoimmune disease, but I have no pain. So you could have that too. You just need to do the reading and the research to bring yourself to that point. And although toxins are everywhere, and toxins are what are making us sick, it starts with food. If you clean up what you eat, your body will start to heal, and your body will be happy. I ask myself every morning when I get up, how do you feel today? Quiet enough to let my body answer, because I adjust immediately, and that's why I don't go back to where I was.
Very well said, and very prudent information for us all. Our time is almost up. What pearl of wisdom would you like to leave our audience with today?
The most important thing is for you to own your own health. You can follow me. I have a group called Feeling Good on Facebook. That's not a membership, but it's a private group. Join us. We're a group of people that like to support each other and like to support health. If you follow me, both of my books are loaded with great information. It's a great place to start. My podcast is loaded with great information. That's also a great place to start, and it's called It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health, and it's on Voice America. So that's a great place to get great information. I just won Mom's Choice Gold because they felt my information was important enough to get it out to all the moms in America. So, you know, I am making my retirement years important to share all this information with you. And if it's still too confusing, you can hire me to coach you to get through the what should you be buying at the grocery store and how to read labels and how to cook meals that will feed your body nutrients. I am a coach. I can help you figure all that out, but I also have lots of materials that are inexpensive that you can get my information from. So my website is CherylMHealthMuse.com, and it's Cheryl with a C, then M Health, and Muse, because I want to inspire you to be healthy. And then all my books, I opened up my own publishing company. So they're on my publishing company website, thank you, which is heavenlytreepress.com. And my gift set with both my books is on my website for my publishing company. But all my books, even some compilations that I've participated in, are on my website for my publishing company.
Well, you know, Cheryl, I have to give you validation that I get emails from listeners and people, especially folks who have listened to your podcast, and they took your information to heart. They went out and got the book, and they can't sing enough praises as to how you helped their life become better.
Thank you.
Folks, you're welcome. And folks, if you're looking to get out there and have better health, and trust me, if you don't have health, you don't have shit. It's important. I mean, it truly is. It's important that you take control, as Cheryl is advising. So go out and get the book, Feeling Good. It's going to help you while you're helping yourself, especially during this time of COVID-19. You could stop binge watching something for a day and read a book, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Right. I share all my tips about how do you live in society and not eat the American Standard Diet, because I won't let that stuff near me. It makes me sick. And my body knows it. So I share all those tips. It's doable. You can sustain it. But without, it took me a long time to figure it out. So I wanted to share it with all my readers.
Yeah, and you can get it like now, okay? You don't have to wait. You don't have to do the hard work of research. You can just read the book and then research what appeals to you to see if it truly resonates with you. So, Cheryl, thank you very much yet again for coming back and enlightening us with this information.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and I appreciate the audience as we get together and collectively get over it and have better health. I want everybody to remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of investing in your health and start feeling good. Abundant blessings, light and love to all. Agape.